Hello! In this video we'll be looking at an example of how tools can be used to speed up game development. So I'm making a top-down horror RPG with branching dialogue. So how is this dialogue actually managed? Well, I'm using resources in Godot to store each dialogue entry. Each piece has a unique ID like this, which indicates world, level, and number in the level. Each entry can also point to the next bit of dialogue or to optional replies that the player can choose from. This all works, but in practice it gets confusing fast. I couldn't tell what pointed to what easily, where I was in the sequence, or which replies connected to which dialogue without losing my mind. It got messy really quickly. So I tried to visualize what I wanted to achieve by mapping everything out in a flowchart using Canva. And that helped, but it created a new problem. Now I had to manually recreate the same structure back inside Godot. And if I made a mistake while setting up the resources, I'd have to dive in and get lost again. So I decided to do the unthinkable. I built a tool inside Godot to visualize the flowchart directly in Godot. There's a keyword you can add at the top of a script, @tool, which lets you run code outside of the game by hitting Ctrl-Shift-P, searching for the class name of your script, and hitting OK to run. I hooked up this tool to an interface scene which harnessed the fancy graph edit node, and now I got my flowchart in Godot. It took a bit of work though, especially to handle loading and saving, but now I can visually connect dialogue nodes, hit Ctrl-S, and it automatically updates the resource files used by the game. So instead of guessing how everything connects, I can actually see it now. And I don't know if you guys use Unreal, but this suspiciously looks like blueprints or the very first step towards that. So yeah, let's see how this goes. I carried on expanding the functionality of this tool after this. I had to make sure that when I saved, I also saved the positions of the graph nodes and the view position. This is so that when I next opened it, everything was drawn back in the same place. The dialogue itself, I realised that some dialogue should just play once, and not every time you go to interact with the character. So I have a little checkbox here I can tick when I want the dialogue or option to run only one time. In my game manager, I'm tracking all the dialogues and options that have been run by the player so far. Then there are dependencies. This means basically that this bit of dialogue depends on you having completed a certain quest for it to be able to run. Finally, we have priority. So you might have a bunch of dialogues that could play for a certain player, but the one which has the highest priority will be evaluated first. If its dependencies are in check and we're good to run it, then go ahead and display this one. If not, we fall back to the next highest priority one, and so on. Going more granular, one thing that confused me for a while with graph nodes in Godot is the difference between slots and ports. So on loading of the tool, it reads all the existing resource files in the project and builds the nodes and connections for them, so we can visualize it. To build these connections, I need to make and connect ports. Your graph node has a bunch of children. When you're connecting the port, the little dot where your connection comes from, you create it on a certain slot, which is the index of the child of the graph node that you want the port to appear next to. But when you're connecting the port by code, you need to specify the index of the port on that side of the node, not the index of the slot. Don't slip up on that one like I did. If you'd like to follow the development journey of this game, please consider subscribing. Good day.